Becker, we're ready.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia so far is absent, so we'll have Commissioner Salas lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation.
Roll call, please.
Chair Salas,
Here.
excuse me, Commissioner Salas. Commissioner Sandu is absent tonight. Commissioner Singh,
Here.
Vice Chair Juarez,
Here.
and Chair Curry.
Here. So question, please. At what point would you like to do the reorganization of the Planning Commission? Do you want to conduct regular business first and swear the new commissioner?
You would want to swear in commissioners first, and then it's up to the commission in terms of how they want to do the agenda. The commission wants to take the reorganization item right after oath of office, that's fine. You can take it out of order. But it's up to the commissioners to determine where on the agenda.
Okay.
We have it kind of in order of new commissioners and then reorganization because they kind of go together. But
Okay.
It's up to the commission.
That works. All right. Potential conflicts of interest. Any commissioner who has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Great, seeing none. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission regarding any item over which the commission has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the chairperson for review. Members of the public shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes.
Name is Parminder Sohol. I have project on 11010 East Mountain View, corner Mountain View and Golden State. I sent the email for extension July 17. Maybe that's not on time or something. I request for just to give me an extension for that project. That's I'm here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
But staff would like to comment on that or?
We received a time extension for the public's project. Receiving written request for an extension on July 17th doesn't give us enough time to publicly notice that item.
Correct.
Which is why it's not on tonight's agenda. It would be on the next available agenda once publicly noticed according. We had one in May. It's a publicly noticed hearing, paper, and we actually, in order to get it 10 days, public notice, we have to submit it to the 17 days before the hearing. So we need considerable time to put it on the agenda.
All right, so that's mainly the issue timing, sir. Once we have enough time to do the proper noticing, they will put your item on the agenda for the next meeting. So it'll be a month from today.
Okay, I understand I'm late, but my expire is going July 27. That's why I come here to request you. My options, if they go expire on July 27, that means I have to everything. They take me 2 years to done that one. I have to start again that one.
Is that so you're saying this will disrupt your business?
Yeah, that's like July 27 is end of my extension.
Okay,
If I wait for the next month, that be already expired, then has to restart all project. We takes a 2 year and a lot of money goes behind. Maybe I can't do it. That maybe I have a lot of issues this time. That's I request to come today and what other choice?
So normally we can't address items that are not on our agenda that we don't have any information on without proper noticing. So I apologize. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure what else we can do. Is there anything?
So my understanding from staff is the original application was approved in
2020.
2020. So the applicant received 1 year to complete his project. If the commission recalls, the city council extended all projects approved in 2019, 2020, and 21 for an additional 3 years.
Okay.
So that would put the applicant's expiration in 2024, not 2023.
Okay.
So as of right now, our understanding from staff's point of view is it does not expire at the end of this month. It expires at the end of July 2024.
Well, that's great. That solves it.
Okay.
Still do follow up on it and next time a little earlier than this to give staff enough time so we don't run into this issue. Luckily, you still have another year.
Thank you.
You're
Thank-
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Planning Commission oath of office, presentation of oath of office to recently appointed commission member Louis Franco and myself, Ramza Corey.
All right, Mr. Franco, if you don't mind stepping up to the podium, I'll read you the swearing in statement.
Do I need to join him after?
Yeah, I guess we gotta redo both, yeah. Huh? That's how it's agenda, yeah. All right, Mr. Franco, if you want to raise your right hand. On with I do. You solemnly swear to support and the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and bear faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. You take this obligation freely without any reservation. That you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon.
I do.
Congratulations. Mr. Carey, if you may do the same, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and bear true faith to the Constitution of the United States and to the Constitution of the State of California. You will take the obligation freely without any mental reservation. That you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon.
I do. Thank you. All right, next item is reorganization of the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Chair Curry. This item, staff came across during our just review of minutes and other agendized items. That the last time the commission had elected a chair was in 2021. Under the ordinance, it's supposed to be a 1-year term with the chair serving until it's, voted on again by and reorganized by.
Right.
So this is an annual item. Staff was merely bringing it to the commission's attention that we were out of compliance with the municipal code in this instance. So whatever's the choice of the planning commission to set a specific date. Typically, this is done first meeting of the year. First meeting of the year, and it's done annually in that fashion.
Okay,
Do it that way, we can take a recommendation to extend the current chair and vice chair till December. We can take whatever recommendation, housekeeping item that we wanted to bring.
I'm happy to serve still as the chair of the planning commission if that's the wish of everybody else. If they wish and wait till December or beginning first meeting of the year in January to reorganize, or we can vote on, appointing a new chair and a new vice chair today. So
Wow.
whatever.
Yeah, because it could be the fiscal year like we just entered right now.
It
We
could
could follow it, right?
I mean, if the commission wants to do it at the beginning of the fiscal year, the beginning of the calendar year, we can do either. We just want a date that is easy to,
Okay.
typically it's done beginning of the calendar year.
Well, I'm in favor of doing it now, fiscal year, since it's been so long. So that's my thought.
I would say let's wait until the end of the year. It'd be easier to track for your guys' end as well. I mean, I don't mind staying on. I don't know if you guys think that would be the smartest way to go.
We've had the same chair for 2 years.
Right. August 23rd, 2021.
So if we do it in July, it's basically,
Calendar
it's,
year
it's,
anniversary.
if she got elected in August, I don't think it makes any difference whether we wait till January, or December, or do it now in July. And
Looking at the terms of the commission. First thing, I think everybody,
In June.
so the first meeting in July. Had a new commissioner.
And any limits as how many terms a chair would serve?
There is no limit per the ordinance of.
they just have to be voted.
Correct.
So should we just go ahead and reorganize now then?
All right. We have a consensus to reorganize now? Okay.
Legal requirement.
I make the motion to reorganize in the first meeting of July.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to reorganize the first meeting in July. Motion by Franco, seconded by Commissioner Salas. Commissioner Singh,
Aye.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Juarez,
Hi.
Chair Curry,
Yes.
and approved.
I make a motion to nominate Commissioner Salas as chair. I do second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to make Commissioner Salas as Chair Commissioner. First by Franco, second by Singh. Vice Chair Juarez,
Yes.
Chair Curry,
Yes.
yes,
Salas as well.
yes.
Motion approved.
All right, we gotta switch spots.
Yeah, well, we need vice chair.
I make a motion to nominate Chairman Singh as vice chair.
I second.
A motion on the floor for Vice Chair, Commissioner Singh. First by Franco, second by Salas, correct?
Hmm.
Vice Chair Juarez,
Yes.
Chair Curry,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
motion approved.
Thank you. Does have a difference? Alrighty.
You too.
The next item on the agenda is our consent calendar. All items listed under consent calendar are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any commission member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. The commission can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. The consent calendar, item 1, consideration and necessary action on the minutes of the May 31st, 2023 meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the meetings as presented.
I do second.
Roll call.
We have a motion to carry the minutes as first by Corey and second by Singh. Commissioner Franco. Commissioner Juarez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Singh,
Yes.
Chair Salas.
Yes. Approved. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing. During the public hearing, I will first ask for staff's comments and reports on the item being discussed. After staff's presentation, I will then open the public hearing to public testimony. I will then close the public hearing, at which time no member of the public shall address the commission unless specifically asked by a member of the commission through the chair. The planning commission will then discuss the matter among themselves and take action on the item being considered. Item 2 is a conditional use permit to allow the renovation of the existing structure of a grocery store, El Toro Loco, and the sale of alcoholic beverages consistent with the issuance of a type 2-1 off-sale general ABC license. The project does not propose the physical expansion of the existing structure, nor does it require an increase in the number of available off-street parking. The project is located at 1900 Floral Avenue, Selma, California. The project location is located at the northeast corner of McCall Avenue and Floral Avenue. The project will also include the approval of a notice of exemption. Staff report.
Good evening, Commission. Chairperson Salas. This is Trevor Stearns, Contract City Planner with the City of Selma. Just as Chairperson Salas mentioned, this is a CUP to propose the sale of alcohol consistent with the issuance of a Type 21 ABC license. However, there had been an update to the project itself that the applicant failed in due time to provide city staff with the necessary requirements for a completed project under our municipal code, and therefore we request that the Planning Commission continue this item to the following Planning Commission meeting in August, so that if needed, the applicant can provide us with additional information. However, it's my understanding that he does have a complete application now, and it was a matter of timing, as mentioned earlier with the gentleman's CUP extension. We needed more time in order to properly notice the project. In addition, we send out each project for review by internal departments here at the city in conjunction with some outside agency departments as well for their review and consideration. So with all that being considered, the recommendation tonight is to continue the item.
I can add to that, staff tries to be accommodating to try and get people on the earliest agenda possible. And in this case, we had an agreement with the applicant that they would provide us the application materials that would allow us to circulate to internal departments that comment and have it ready for the staff report in time. And as a part of that, we pre-noticed the public hearing to ensure it made it onto the agenda. Staff, as a part of that, takes somewhat of a risk in the event that the applicant doesn't get those materials in. And in this case, that's what happened. So trying to be proactive in being timely in bringing the application before the commission, but in this case, the applicant did not provide the materials, so we're just requesting regular August meeting. Part of that, if you guys continue it to a date specific, city attorney can confirm if I'm right, that we won't have to publicly notice it again and pay the newspaper to publish again. But if we have a completed application, we can circulate it for comment and then bring staff report and analysis back.
You are correct, Jerome.
So because it isn't noticed, so nobody would know that we were having a public hearing at the next meeting?
It's the public notice went out for this meeting night. Because it was publicly noticed, anybody that had concerns regarding the application should be here tonight. And they would know that the meeting, that's the premise behind that the law does not require us to publicly notice again.
So is this consensus or do we need a motion?
You need a motion to,
I made a motion.
I believe it's still, you still have to open to the public, I believe.
We still have to do a public hearing?
Unless city
Usually when
attorney
we're
can-
continuing an item,
I
we
don't think so.
we don't hold a public hearing. But I mean, we can ask the attorney, but we've never done that in the past.
I
You
didn't
don't-
believe so.
If you're continuing the public hearing, you don't have to hold the public hearing, but you do have to ask for public comment if there is any.
Okay, at this time, anyone who has a public comment on this agenda item being continued to the next meeting can come forward.
To the callers online, please use *9 to raise your virtual hand and *6 to unmute yourself.
No comment from the public.
Chair Salas, no, there is no comment.
Okay, continue.
So I make a motion to add the agenda in the next upcoming planning commission's meeting.
I second that.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to continue the item, first by Commissioner Singh, Vice Chair Singh, seconded by Commissioner Corey. Commissioner Franco,
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez,
Yes.
Chair Salas.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item number 3, conditional use permit CUP 2023-0019 to allow this for the sale of alcoholic beverages consistent with the issuance of type 21 off-sale general ABC license. The project does not propose the physical expansion of the existing business El Mercado. The project is located at 2440 McCall Avenue, Selma, California. The business's name is El Mercado and is part of an existing shopping center on the northeast corner of McCall Avenue and Rose Avenue. The project will also include the approval of a notice of exemption. Staff report.
Thank you, Chairperson Salas. This is Trevor Stearns, Contract City Planner. Staff has prepared a presentation for this item tonight. As we get that fired up here. The project before you is a conditional use permit to allow for the sale of packaged alcoholic beverages as it's defined under the city's municipal code. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Okay, perfect. So as I mentioned previously, Planning Commission is here to consider application 2023-0019 for a conditional use permit application to upgrade the current type 20 ABC license to a type 21 ABC license for the existing El Mercado grocery store. No physical expansion, meaning exterior construction, is being proposed as a part of this CUP. The project site is already located, or is located within an existing shopping center near the intersection of Rose Avenue and McCall Avenue on the northeast corner between Rose and Arance Avenue, also known as the Bitters Selma Shopping Center. The current general plan and zoning designation is community commercial and C2. There's the location of the grocery store. The C2 zone district does allow for the sale of alcohol. However, it's predicated on the allowance or the approval of a conditional use permit. Here we go. The El Mercado grocery store already has an existing type 20 ABC license, as I had mentioned. That was approved in 2014 by the Planning Commission. The type 20 license authorizes the sale of beer and wine for consumption off premise. In 2018, the El Mercado grocery store proposed to upgrade their existing license to the type 21 ABC license. The type 21 ABC license authorizes the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. So that's where we get the difference between the type 20 and type 21, is the addition of the distilled spirits, both of which still require the consumption of the purchases to be off premise. It's not a sale and consume at the same site. During the February 2018 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission voted to deny CUP 2018-0012. That was proposing the upgrade to the type 21 license. The reasoning for the denial of Planning Commission was due to the proposal's inconsistency with the Selma Municipal Code. In addition, there was also some concerns noted at the Planning Commission of the precedent being set for the decision that if they were to approve it, then they would see similar projects coming forward. And at that time, the Planning Commission did not hold that in favor. Following the decision of the Planning Commission, the applicant at that time appealed the decision of the Planning Commission to the City Council. And at the March 19th City Council meeting, the City Council voted to approve the resolution affirming the Planning Commission's decision to deny the conditional use permit. So the resolution was to deny the conditional use permit. And so by City Council approving the denial, that's where we get that confusion there. So so for the project analysis, for the project that we have here before you, this proposal for the type 21 ABC license, there are certain standards that every ABC license or business or store that proposes to sell packaged alcoholic beverages, they must meet in order to be consistent and compliant with the general plan and the city's municipal code. Specifically, Selma Municipal Code section 11-8-10 outlines some of those standards, and those standards are specific to density and situs standards. So as we see here, all businesses that are proposing to sell prepackaged alcoholic beverages are required to be certain distances from, quote unquote, sensitive receptors or uses that are sensitive to being in close proximity to these types of businesses. The number one is the business must be at least 300 feet away from any public park, private park, or, public park and public or private school. As you know, and as shown in this figure here, the proposed business here is within 300 feet of the James Garfield Elementary School, just north of that shopping center on Arance Street. Going back. In addition to that site as standard, there's also another standard where there is a requirement for any business selling prepackaged alcoholic beverages to be at least 500 feet from any existing non-exempt facility. And what that means is that non-exempt facility is in direct correlation with another business selling prepackaged alcohol. So for instance, another business that acquired a CUP to sell alcohol in any fashion consistent with the municipal code is considered a non-exempt facility only in the event of being a certain size. So there are specific standards in which they would be considered an exempt facility, such as being greater than 15,000 square feet and allocating, I believe it's approximately 10% of the floor area for the sale of alcohol. So for instance, like a beer cave at like a Rite Aid or Walmart selling alcoholic beverages in their refrigerated section, things like that. Those would be considered exempt facilities. So as mentioned here, in the same shopping center, we have a business that has an active alcohol license, specifically a type 41 license, and that business is the Chicago Pizza with a Twist, which is just south of where the El Mercado grocery store is located. So for with consistency with the municipal code and the conflicts with these specific standards, the proposal to upgrade the existing ABC license to the type 21 wouldn't be something that staff is going to be recommending. And here we have, like I said, the distance between the James Garfield Elementary School here, and although it's not conflicting with the same standard of being at least 300 feet or within 300 feet of a public park, it is close by to the Lincoln Park, just south of Rose Avenue there, but it is 320 feet, so it is outside of that buffer zone. And if you can see my cursor here, that's the rough location of where the Chicago Pizza with a Twist is. So as our recommendation, as I alluded to, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission deny the conditional use permit to upgrade the existing ABC license. Denied the proposal to upgrade that license to the type 21 license. I do want to note, however, as I mentioned, they do have an existing type 20 license. The denial of this proposal is not going to retroactively deny the previous approval of the CUP that they are already existing and working with right now. With that being said, staff is here for any questions you may have. Thank you.
I have a question. Is there a time frame on this conditional use permit, or is it goes with the owner of the license?
The conditional use permits run with the use and the land specifically. So for instance, if the business were to move, then they would have to work with ABC in whatever jurisdiction that they move to transfer their license. Or if they move within Selma, they would have to do the same thing as transferring their license. So as long as the business is there and existing, then the CUP is still active.
And another question, you mentioned 500 feet right there on Floral and McCall. Not here, but if you go down up McCall Avenue, there's a little cluster. You have cork and bottle liquor, you have another liquor store, you have Shop and Go. And that's not interfering with that ordinance that we currently have?
It may be interfering with the ordinance. It's all about timing of when they were approved. As we stated with this license, it was approved in 2014, prior to when that citing criteria came into play. If the citing criteria was in place in 2014, staff would have recommended denial of this as well. Based on the citing criteria, we'd have to go back and review when the CUPs and when the liquor licenses were approved for those other items to determine if they predated the citing criteria, which they likely did.
And since they have a, am I saying right, type 20 license currently,
Yes, that's correct.
there is no major influx of calls of that staff is aware about of consuming alcohol out in the parking lot or on the premises or anything like that.
As we routed this application to all departments within the city, that included the police department and fire department. And we did not receive any indication from them that they've received an influx in calls in terms of nuisances relating to the sale of alcohol at the site.
Thank you.
So I have a question. As Mr. Luis Franco mentioned, there is a conflict of 500 feet, as you mentioned, so they go type 20 versus type 41. They are like, if someone is having 41, they should not have 21, right? So when they were having 20, so are we allowed to have allow someone to get license 41?
It's dependent on the exempt status of the facility. So the type 41 is still considered as non-exempt similarly to the proposal right now, a type 20 and a type 21 license, those are also considered non-exempt as well. So they fall within the same
So
category.
that's the non-compliant, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I
if we are considering approving the CUP, that means are we sending a message to everybody that holds a license that want to upgrade it, even if it's in conflict with our municipal code, that we should say yes in the future?
the commission may consider approving the proposal here, and there are specific guidelines in the municipal code and specific findings that must be made in order for the commission to approve these types of businesses that do not meet the density or situs standards of the municipal code. And so those are outlined in the staff report on the second page. Towards the end there, there are 5 findings, and I can go over those each, that the planning commission must make in order to approve these types of licenses. For instance, one is the established condition to limit the display and or storage areas of packaged alcoholic beverages to 10% or less of the total area of such facility. Number 2, the extent of which the proposed facility is less than the minimum prescribed 300 feet from a public park or any public or private school, and the susceptibility of the park or school to open consumption of packaged alcoholic beverages on the premise. The overall concentration of retail facilities selling packaged alcohol beverages within the zone. The nature and square footage and percentage of the square footage of the non-exempt facilities located within 500 feet of the proposed facility selling packaged alcoholic beverages, and the extent to which, in the view of the planning commission or city council, adherence to the density requirements of this section will place the proposed facility at a competitive disadvantage to the existing non-exempt facilities located within 500 feet of the proposed new facility. And lastly, the allowance of retail sales of packaged alcoholic beverages from such facilities promotes the public convenience and necessity, or necessity, sorry. Yes, the allowance of retail sales of packaged alcoholic beverages from such facilities promotes the public convenience or necessity. That's also something that's consistent with ABC as well, because they require that the city make a finding that the approval of said CUP for a subsequent ABC license fits a public necessity and or convenience.
Do we know if the Sierra Market has a ABC license also?
I believe they do. That didn't come up in the review of the ABC online ABC database, but we can definitely double check. I only go in there to buy energy drinks, so I don't see that sign. Sorry.
We're going to open the public hearing for public testimony at this time. If anyone wishes to speak for or against the proposal, can you please come to the podium and state your name and address?
Good evening, Commissioner members and the staff members, and congratulations to Franco and Curry again, the commissioner chosen. My name is Nick Sahota, 2511 Logan Street, Selma. And I'm here on applicants' behalf of applicants, Mr. Singh. I heard the staff reporting on this. I want to mention to you a few things that these findings can be easily made. Let me start with that. Mr. Singh, what does he's requesting is the public convenience or necessity in order to obtain a liquor license type 21 off sale. We have currently type 20 beer off sale license since 2014. And it's been over 9 years that we don't have any existing violation from ABC, neither from Selma PD. And this El Mercado is one of the largest retailer here in Selma. And El Mercados offer a convenient and unique stores for local residents to browse an extensive inventory of food, general merchandise, beverages, many beers, and over 2,000 more products. This store serves the residents with a convenient place to shop in a well-lit and maintained facility. This store is a positive influence on the local community, economy, and well as providing jobs and a retail tax revenue to the city, as well as the competitive pricing to the consumer. El Mercados currently has 9 full-time employees. Additional help is hired during the holidays. And we are proposing that these, if types 21 is approved, is going to be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday. And the public won't have direct access to the spirit. It will be closed cabinets, and it will be locked all the time. They could only view through the glass, and then the employees will be handed and check the ID each time. The company policy is prohibiting to use a video or pinball games, sales of dirty magazine, etc. They don't do that. That does not promote the alcohol. Mr. Singh doesn't do that. El Mercados obtain a state-of-the-art security cameras, and it can be accessed to the anytime Selma PD. The Garfield School, I believe that staff presented that 300 feet. Actually, it is at 300 feet and over. If walking distance, it is over 300 feet. And the direct access from the property lines to there, because I was the one who presented it back in 2014 for the type 20 license. I know we met that. And that can be meet that the section 11-8, 11-8, 11-10, that the distance.
Thank you, Mr. Sahota. Your time is up.
I'm actually applicant. Can I presenting the applicants usually have more time?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not a public comments. I'm here for the behalf of the applicants. And the section, the one that mentions, it does meet it. And there is existing smoke shack is that within 200 feet, just to the north of this place. And that's got approved, I believe, last year. And we already have approved ABC license. And just that waiting from the city to get a clearance on CUP. And it's in a big amount. When you buy the ABC type 21, that license goes with the owner and it's cost lots of money on it. And the license, if he moved from here, the license goes with the owner. It does not place with the business. I just want to let you guys know that. We are not selling a pint or not less than a 700 ml. And it would be a quality liquors, high quality liquors, and it will be closed in cabinets. And also I want to mention that Mr. Singh's already have 3 liquor stores in Madera and very high volumes. And they are with also most safety of the customers. And he's been in the business over 20 years. And El Mercado, and well as his other store, is a #1 beer sales in Central Valley and a whole state of California. You can check online. And through the some of those big vendors. You could say top 10 sales in the both beers and distributors. And also Mr. Singh, he bought a building here in a downtown, and we are expanding more businesses throughout here in Selma, well as he have stores in Madera. Those are been 20 years, and he also have a businesses in Fresno too. And so, and also that if this license is below the limit of Selma type 21 license requirements in the in City of Selma, and we have very long reputation of running businesses without any violation, and we are fully understand the security and safety of residents. So once again, and I think these findings can be made. I think as we are over 300 feet and the walking distances, and we are not over 10% of the area that we could make it. And also that we are, this business is a necessity for the customer. And I think it would better give a more consumers compared to the other liquor store. There's 8 type 21 licenses here in Selma. 2 are out of the city limits, and there's a 6. There's a Food for Less, Walmart, Rite Aid, and I believe there's 3 licenses owned by the Cork and Wine. That owners owns 3 of them. And I think that approving a type 21 on a gas station might be a more holds against the people than having this. The store is very nice place in a downtown and in a shopping center, and there's no safe place other than this. And when you have them approved on a type 21 on a gas station, that is more where we would have problem here in town. So I think this place is perfect. This is how Food for Less and other people's are, and this especially have locked that area. And it will not have a direct access, and it will be a very high quality liquors. And it's better for the consumer and better for the city. I'm here to answer any questions or concern, well as the owner is here too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward for or against the proposal? Anyone online?
To the callers on the line, star 9 to raise your virtual hand and star 6 to unmute yourself. Chair Shaw, there's no one online.
This time we'll close the public hearing and bring the proposal back to the commission for discussion.
I'll go first, because everybody's quiet. I remember back in I don't know. I remember when this came to the council, the first request, I had just got elected at that time and I think it was my first or second meeting on city council. And at the time, my thought was that I heard of all these grand plans to bring in all these other new businesses that were gonna come and provide, alcohol sales and stuff like that. And then we were only, as a community, limited to so many liquor license. Well, since that time, none of those businesses came. Since that time, we even lost one if you count Save Mart. We've actually gone down. And I do live on that side of town and I go to that shopping center quite frequently. I've gone to that store. I've gone to Sierra Market. I've gone to Chicago with the Twist. And it is a convenience because if you come from the east side of town, that is the closest retail shopping center that you can get to. So I do see reasoning to grant this exception, because it's not really, I don't think, gonna make any addition to the city sales tax, because if they don't buy it there, they're just gonna buy their stuff there and drive to another cross town to get another store. So I do actually believe now, after hindsight, that it is providing a convenience, but I would just ask that the city be diligent on any kind of restrictions that they get enforced. I do like the fact that the front of the elementary school is on the opposite street. There's little foot traffic. I do like we just hope that the signage on the marketing, like cigarettes and stuff, we just don't go overboard and with the signage and stuff, because there are kids that walk to school. There are a few, because I used to walk that way when I was elementary. But I do see a reason to support this measure at this time.
Yeah, and I don't believe they're in conflict with Chicago Pizza with a Twist, because they're not. I mean, Chicago Pizza has a beer and wine to serve on site with their food. They're not selling packaged alcoholic beverages off site. So, and since they have not had any violations since 2014, obviously their clients are not violating the code by drinking in the parking lot. They're just simply buying their liquor and going home. But I agree with Commissioner Franco, as long as there is not excessive advertising outside, we don't want children to think that the norm of what you go to purchase at a supermarket is just liquor. So that's my thought on that.
The only thing that worries me is the proximity to the school, because one of the main exits towards this shopping center is towards the school. And my parents live on B Street, so I'm constantly over there and there's always cars peeling out of that parking lot during school hours. So that worries me because of the kids that walk home to school in the morning. There's some children that are unsupervised, and should that cause an accident or something like that, I think that's my biggest fear. It's the proximity to the school. And like you said, it won't make a difference because they're already selling alcohol, but at the same time, selling liquor attracts a different crowd. So I'm not sure if that would be.
I have a question for Mr. Sota. So the hard liquor you are going to add, that's going to be in cabinets and locked all the time?
Cabinets and locked all the time. That's how it is right now in Madeira too. It will not have direct access, and definitely it will be also that regarding questions for the safety of the kids. Yes, this liquor is 21 and over. And definitely we check the ID and we are okay with the signing. We won't have any other signings that will affect the school districts, and definitely. And I'm at the school district too, so I know how is it safety for the kids is very, very important. I think the shopping center, that's what when they built out there, that was the serving for the community local here. And yeah, definitely we are, whatever the signing is requires less, and we are okay with it. And plus, this is not going to be selling smaller liquor bottles. That's what makes the Lara problems in some of those liquor stores, that we will not sell 750 milliliter less than that. This would be very high quality liquors, and it will be locked all the time. Thank you.
So there's a like a safe zone, like other items which are not logged. People can have access, they can steal too. But since it's like it's protected. So
were you able to find out about the Sierra Market? Do they have a,
What I can tell, Sierra Market's application was withdrawn. It's
Oh.
not showing as active. right
Okay.
now, with Type 20. But it was
and
withdrawn in
then
20.
he said when they did their type 20, that it was showing 300 feet or more?
We didn't have any sighting requirement in 2014. So there was no reason to review sighting criteria in 2000.
Okay,
So it was a complete different,
so regardless of whether it passed, that has no bearing on this,
that
the
has no bearing on
measurements
this.
here.
The sighting criteria was established to prevent over concentration of alcoholic sales in a specific area. Again, if the commission wants to make findings, there are specific findings that need to be made, such as limiting the display and storage area to 10% or less of the facility, as well as that the extent prescribed will not impact adjacent uses. There's specific findings that need to be made by the commission. Additionally, just to clarify a point, the license, Mr. Sahota is correct that it goes with the licensee. So if they were to close and go somewhere else, they can take their license. The CUP stays with the land. If this is approved, someone else could come in and use the land use permit approval on this spot. So if the applicant were to pick up and find another place to go in town, he can take his liquor license, but someone else bring a license to this because the land use permit stays with the land. The ABC license goes with. That's clear.
How long is the term of a CUP?
It's in operation, it doesn't expire. Have any provisions?
So basically, if he moves and takes the license and we have a new owner, they do not have to come back and apply for a new CUP.
Correct, unless the permit is revoked for whatever.
But they would have to get their own liquor license.
Have to
Yeah,
apply
but
to
if they're
ABC,
bringing it.
go through and get their own. That site is approved.
Yeah, and if they're bringing it from
Oh, I'm sorry.
another,
To clarify, 3 months. If it
Vacant? It's vacant for 3 months?
continues. So in theory, if it's less than 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months.
Do we know how close the next establishment is that has a type 21 license from there?
they said Floral and McCall, I believe, Cork and Bottle.
There's a liquor store
And a
over on
liquor
East
store.
Front, on East Front. There used to be, is there, by Cho's? By Cho's?
It's been there.
No, okay.
No, I think Floral and McCall
Or
is,
was that the closest?
there's a liquor store on Floral and McCall.
Off the ABC map.
Well, we're trying to pull up the map right now and see what the next
The
closest is.
closest place.
Again, staff is just reiterating, the citing criteria standards in the municipal code for this item. If findings are made, I would make them very specific to this case because you could have other applications that will use this as an example. It's something for the commission to consider, but if it's the commission's prerogative to approve it, you just need to make those specific findings, and I would advise to make very specific findings specific to this as it is presented.
Can I say something? That signage, the ABC license, does not let you, advertisement liquor. Just want to let you guys know, it's illegal to be advertisement, the liquors on the windows or anything like that.
Thank you. I'm gonna make a motion to approve with findings, but excuse me, Deputy City Manager, I have at a loss of how to word the findings that would be at the city's recommendations.
We have a resolution that's attached that provides those findings. If you would like to elaborate on any of those findings on page.
Right after the resolution denying the application.
Yeah,
uh,
we provided
the-
both resolutions so that the commission could make a decision accordingly. Second resolution in your packet on page 20 of your packet.
And the last whereas
And actually it might be
includes.
past pages.
The
Is there a
last-
limit on the number of calls the police department might receive or any accidents that might happen that are caused by these sales before we can revoke a CUP?
There's specific provisions in the municipal code to bring an application up for revocation. I don't believe that there's any set criteria that, you know, it's 2 calls, it's 3 accidents, whatever. It's a matter of making a determination under the municipal code that the permit should be revoked or at least considered for revocation. If the commission wanted to set like a review period to bring it back, you know, heard in that area, it's just hard to determine if they're specific to this facility or different facility cause of it. So it's matter of setting criteria for which the commission maybe wants to review this application. If the commission wants to set specific guidelines or additional conditions of approval for how this CUP issued, that's firmly within the prerogative of the commission to set in order to fit the approval in with the citing criteria as the findings outline. On different hours, if you want advertisement, I mean, Mr. Sahota states that advertisements at the facility is illegal. I'm not sure if promoting, you know, if some operations promote alcohol on social media, that they're having specials on certain bottles. I've seen that. I don't know if that's illegal. But they could theoretically do that if you want to limit ever as part of the CUP. I don't know if that would be allowed. I would, you know, defer.
I don't think, I guess. Up with that.
The tough part about this one, I'm all for businesses being able to expand and make more money and understand, you know, viability and, you know, convenience and all of that. My only concern is the precedents that we would set for the next liquor license owner. I don't know. I mean, if this is, I understand this is a unique situation, really. They're already selling alcohol. They're not in conflict with anybody around it. I don't think, I mean, if Chicago Pizza had an issue with them selling, they would have been here, you know, contesting it, saying, no, this is going to hurt our business. I get all that. I'm just afraid that we grant that and then somebody will come and say, well, you just did that over there. So how come we can't do it over here? And all of a sudden we have, I don't know, that I'm not sure how do we fix that part of the
Well, I
issue.
think it's our duty as a commission here to look at each applicant individually on their own merits and.
Right.
And Mr.
No,
Mr.
President.
Steen came here,
Yeah,
this is his
and
third
CUP
time trying for
stays.
this? Right, the third time you tried
But it
back
could
in
be-
20, so.
He has a good point. The CUP stays with the land. So if they were to close shop and move down the road, whoever comes in, and what if they don't have a good track record?
But
That's-
then they would,
But they,
theoretically, they would lose their license because they don't have good track record. And if you think about it, no, I don't want to,
It sets a
businesses
precedent.
that leave Selma stay vacant before they're filled for a long time. I mean, look at downtown, look at the trophy shop, look at the boot thing. I mean, it's not like they're going to leave because it's a successful business. At the same time, I don't know if they're going to be through that quick, but if we could put an exception that the COP is only granted for 1 month if vacant, I'm happy with that. Is that possible, Deputy City Manager, to change that for just 1 month, the vacancy, 30 days?
I don't believe we can because it would be in conflict with.
The
ordinance.
municipal code, yeah.
Is that the municipal that is being reviewed or just got reviewed to do that?
The,
Aren't they going through a review of all that as well?
that section
How do you word
outside of
that?
the municipal code.
Well, that's it. I think it's very difficult to put conditions. We'd have to, like he said, the exceptions. The way they're worded here, the 5 exceptions. Are these narrow enough to prevent the ones that you have in the resolution now? To prevent another business from being able to piggyback on this kind of thing? Or are they general enough that the next person can just say, well, I'm going to put these same things on my application and have it approved?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends how the commission feels about their case and their argument.
Because you have your 5 points here.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Teresa, Commissioner Salas, your question stating that the 5 findings that need to be made in addition to either modify, alter, or remove the distance and site of standards to make it compliant with the municipal code. Those findings itself is essentially the planning commission acknowledging that the proposed business or what they're proposing, their upgrade, is in conflict with the municipal code. However, you do find that regardless of the distance between the school or the business in relation to other businesses selling alcohol with active ABC licenses, the acknowledgement there is that they aren't going to impact those businesses negatively or the schools or public parks negatively. So those findings aren't necessarily conditions, but you have the ability as the commission to condition the project to enforce or to solidify those findings that you make to ensure that the proposed business that we're discussing tonight is not going to impact those facilities, those other businesses, or the public or private parks and schools.
So conditions that are allowed would be limitations on advertising, limitations on hours of sale.
Upgraded security, things like that. Yeah,
So
you're
we could
absolutely correct.
condition all of those things. If we wanted to approve it, we could do it with those conditions if it would make us feel better.
Yeah.
And also I want to confirm, like, here I see on the conditions of approval, and I see from, there are no comments from a lot of organizations, right? So is there any,
Because a lot of
it's exhibit A, like I do see like only city attorney has a couple of conditions, but besides that, there is no any other condition.
correct, yeah. The conditions themselves, usually you see obviously a lot of conditions where new construction is permitted, where an ABC license is going to be requested or proposed. Typically, you don't see a lot of conditions associated with that because the majority of the agencies or departments commenting on that are going to be related more towards construction. However, with the addition of police and fire as departments that are regularly included in the development process or the planning process, they do review these and they did not respond with any specific comments. However, that doesn't exclude the business from complying with any standards of the the Public Resource Code, the Building Code, the City of Selma Municipal Code, those standards, those policies, those laws are still all applicable. And so if the business is in violation of any of those laws, even the penal code, then the city will coordinate with the business owner in order to either rectify those issues, those nuisances that have been noticed by the city, or if those issues, those nuisances are still prevalent, then the discussions of the revocation of the CUP can occur at that time as well.
What are the store hours? So the store closes at 10.
I know when somebody is in a bar and they are obviously intoxicated, the bartender is legally obligated to stop serving alcohol. Is it the same for liquor stores? If somebody walks in and they're obviously intoxicated, do you refuse the sale of alcohol to them as well?
Policy, like the Trevor mentioned. I could go there and
Okay. Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure. I knew, like I said, the type 40 wines and the, when you're actually consuming it there, but I was wondering if for off sale, it's the same.
If you walk in staggering or reeking of
Right.
alcohol and try to buy
Yes.
some.
Can we make the conditions, things that they've already offered to do, the video surveillance, things under lock and key, closing at 10 o'clock, but make those conditions and maybe have a yearly inspection to make sure that the equipment is still working properly, the cameras are still working, that they are upholding their time frame?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we can make those as part of the CUP, because our concern is that this is going to stay with the location so that any new owner that might take over would still be obligated and bound by the same rules.
All we would ask is that just be articulated in the motion.
Yeah, I think I made the motion, so I would like to amend the motion to include the restrictions that Chairperson Salas made as part of the existing conditions.
You want those again?
Yeah, please, for
You
the
have
record,
to
yeah.
read 'em.
I don't remember.
Just that the time constraints that they close at 10 as stated, that they keep their surveillance equipment up to date and in working condition, and that the liquor is kept under lock and key.
So basically, even if they expanded their business hours, the sale of alcohol needs to stop at 10 PM.
And you said a review.
And, oh yes,
Annual
and an annual inspection of their cameras, et cetera, to be sure that everything is still in working order.
Along with what they mentioned, that no advertisement of alcohol be outside the facility. I do not think we can stop social media. That will be infringing on freedom of speech, and we will open a whole can of worms. But at least in the windows, and on site, no signage advertising alcohol.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I do second.
Roll call.
We have first motion by Commissioner Franco, second by Vice Chair C. Chair Juarez,
No.
Chair Curry,
Yes.
Chair Salas.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Congratulations.
Item number 4 on the agenda. Conditional use permit extension, CUP 2019-0039 was approved by the Planning Commission on August 26, 2019, due to the continued impact of COVID-19 on the development community as it relates to timing on March 21st, 2022. the Selma City Council approved an extension of the expiration date of CUP 2018-0039 to August 26th, 2023. The applicant is requesting an extension of the approval for CUP 2018-0039. The project will also include the approval of a notice of exemption. Staff report.
Thank you, Chairperson Salas. Trevor Stearns, Contract City Planner. We have a presentation prepared for you tonight regarding this item here. The item, as mentioned by Chairperson Salas, is the extension of an already approved CUP, that's conditional use permit number 2018-0039. It wants to work for me. There we go. So the proposal here tonight is for the consideration for the time extension for the 1-year extension of the expiration date. The project is located on the southeast corner of McCall Avenue and Nelson Boulevard on a roughly, I believe, half-acre vacant lot right there on the corner. The current general plan and zone designation is commercial office and CO, which are consistent with each other. Here is the location of the site itself. Here's some project history about this proposal. The original conditional use permit in 2018 was submitted and deemed complete on July 11th, 2019. At that time, the Community Development Department here began processing the application as what typically occurs and scheduled a subsequent Planning Commission meeting hearing on July 29th, 2019. That item was ultimately continued to the following Planning Commission hearing on August 26, 2019. During each of the Planning Commission hearings, the Planning Commission opened for public comment, and at that time, during that public comment period, there were discussions about concerns of the project itself and its perceived impacts on the neighboring property, specifically the property to the south. The property to the south is an existing professional office use. Various professional office uses are currently existing there, such as, medical offices, dentist offices, and other office-related uses there. After taking in public comment and deliberation, the Planning Commission decided to approve CUP 2018-0039 at the August 26th Planning Commission meeting in 2019. Since the approval of the CUP being approved in 2019, thus the expiration date of the CUP being in August 26th, 2020, a year later, as mandated by the City of Selma's municipal code. During the time of the approval, we obviously experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a part of that, the city and the state offered COVID expiration extensions for discretionary projects and site plans. And so there were 2 extensions that totaled to 3 years for projects between the years of 2019 and 2021. So this project being approved in 2019 with the expiration date in 2020 had been extended by this this program that the city had approved of to have the ultimate expiration date 3 years later, which is 2023 of August 26th. So the reason why we're having this discussion item this month is obviously because the Planning Commission meeting in August is after the 26th. And so we worked with the applicant or the new applicant to get this item agendized for you tonight. The reason why the applicant is requesting the additional year extension is for the new owner and the applicant to commence the project, to pick up where it left off back in 2020, 2021, and to start preparing the building, the grading plans, the construction related plans that are needed in order to carry the project forward. In addition to also to comply with the conditions of approval. That is still an outstanding factor. They still have some work that needs to be done as a part of that. And they've been in communication with the city in order to meet those requirements there. Here is the overall site plan. Here's it's consistent with the proposal that was approved in 2019. Not much has changed from then to now, if anything. This project is in compliance with CEQA. It meets the criteria of a class 32 exemption, otherwise known as the infill exemption. That's a common CEQA exemption, a categorical exemption for projects that are substantially within urban areas or urban clusters. So as a part of our recommendation for here tonight is the approval of the extension for 1 year, and that extension would be then changed from August 26, 2023, effectively to August 26, 2024. And one notation that staff wants to make is the recommendation in the staff report be updated to reflect 2024 instead of 2023. So sorry for any confusion that may have caused. With that being said, that concludes staff's presentation. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
I have a question. So since 2019 now, it's 2023, a lot of traffic has increased, and especially at McCall and Nelson, that area, I know there is a stop sign. So a lot of traffic car gets stuck. So if we are going to put 20 apartments over there, we do need a traffic study for that. In 2019, it was a different, but now traffic has increased a lot.
Sorry, at what point a signal was going to be warranted in that intersection? Because we had that conversation when the opposite corner got developed into the 5 condos that are there, that at what point that 4-way stop is going to become a signal if it was necessary.
So as a part of the conditions of approval for the original conditional use permit, they are conditioned to pay their fair share of their impact in terms of fees calculated for the development of a future traffic signal at the McCall and Nelson Boulevard
Right,
intersection.
which we also conditioned the other owner across the street to pay his fair share. My question is, when do we actually put one?
And for that, we do need a traffic study,
Well, no, I'm asking what triggers that on the city level?
Typically, the city conducts a review of traffic collisions. We just adopted the local road safety plan where we analyze local roads and analyze traffic collisions, whether they're, automobile, cyclist, automobile, pedestrian, what have you. We have the local road safety plan that kind of identifies areas where we have incidents. Maybe not close incidents because those aren't documented, but actual incidents that are documented with the police department filed, and it becomes part of the record of accidents and traffic collisions. So we have the local road safety plan that helps identify intersections that need improvements. We also take in, local sentiment as part of that. However, it should be noted that fair share was conditioned on this project, so we can't require them to do more than they're
No,
now.
no.
I think the question is when will the city consider putting in a traffic signal at this location?
Correct. That was my question.
We can verify this intersection in the local road safety plan and provide an update to the commission of whether or not this intersection is identified within that
Okay.
plan, as well as look at the capital improvement program to see if we have this intersection or areas close to this intersection identified. It should be noted that you still have to do a warrant study to determine the number of traffic trips and whether or not it becomes a stop sign intersection first and then a traffic signal, because that's usually the precursor to become traffic signal is to have stop signs at that location first.
Well, we do. Currently, it
Right,
is an
right,
always stop
right.
sign. Yeah.
So we still have to do the warrant study to determine if
Okay.
a light is needed at that.
And when you mentioned the new owner, does that mean from the time we approved that CUP till now, that property has transferred owners?
Correct.
Is the purchase complete? The new owner purchased it with the understanding that there's a CUP and they're going to be allowed to purchase, to construct this
can't-
building?
I can't speak to anybody doing their own due diligence on a property, but I would assume that they did their due diligence and they understood that there was a use permit related to this project and that there were conditions of approval that needed to be fulfilled as part of this project.
And they're doing their share. So they've
They're in
submitted,
contact with staff on what the requirements are. I believe we had a meeting outline what conditions of approval were still outstanding, what fees still needed to be paid, what building construction documents needed to be updated, because since this was originally submitted by the prior owner, we
Right.
had a change in building code, adopted
correct.
2022 building code that these plans need to be updated to, as well as they've just expired. So they need to resubmit for construction plan check review, and as well as pay associated impact fees, which would include their fair share towards the traffic signal. So those items haven't been fulfilled, but they are aware of that because they've been in discussions with
Okay.
staff.
Thank you.
So we're just giving them an extension, but nothing has changed as far as requirements.
Nothing has changed regarding requirements for the project. But as staff stated, we will go and identify the level at which the intersection is on the local road safety plan and provide an update to the commission at the next meeting.
This time I'll open the public hearing portion of this meeting. Anyone for or against the project can come forward. Please state your name and address, please.
Kent Rodriguez, 2090 West McGill, Fresno, California. I was the architect on the original project and process of CUP. And as staff has said, once we're approved, we prepared construction documents. And then because of COVID, construction industry impacted and it's never built. In about the last 6 months, the original owner sold the property to a development firm from down south. And they want to proceed with developing it as we have it drawn. They're aware of all the issues and we had a meeting with staff. And as they've said, we have to update our drawings to the current building code. And Trevor made us aware at the time of the concerns of the property owners to the south. So in speaking with the current owners, they're very motivated to resolve those problems, which is basically having people from the apartments be able to access the parking area and everything from the office complex. So basically we're proposing to relocate our trash enclosure, build a solid wall with only a gate for emergency vehicle access, which will have a Knox box on it for police and fire to use. And totally separated, just like the property that's to the east of them right now. And we'll work with staff to resolve that and make sure that the new trash enclosure location is agreeable to them.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Steve Earbaron, 3410 McCall Avenue, Suite 106. And I am one of the property owners on the adjacent property to the project. And along with the other property owners, we just wanted to share some of our concerns. Across the street, there's a parcel that's about 3/4 of the size of the development. And back then he wanted to put in 8 units, but the city told him he can only put in 6. And one of the reasons given, because of traffic congestion at that location, at that intersection. If you use that as a guide, I have a problem, I question how 20 units with 40 parking spaces could be acceptable. It's going to create significantly more congestion at that intersection, more than the 6 units. So maybe a signal is what you need. Putting 20 units in 40 parking spaces and a pool on 1 acre just seems to be a little much for a small space. It's going to create traffic problems, not only for our complex, but for Shadowbrook residents and maybe the lakes and maybe Robinwood, depending on what time in the morning, particularly with schools in session and people are trying to get to work in the morning. When Shadowbrook was built and our office complex was completed, a block light fence with fire access gate was built along the entire property line. The garbage enclosures were on our side, were on their side, and there was no cross access. And for 45 years, that's worked quite well. No cross access and no problems. The plans for this project he just addressed do have a trash enclosure with an opening that's on our property. And the intent was for the garbage truck to drive up on our property, empty their trash and exit through our property. But apparently they're going to change that. Now, leaving that trash enclosure open, the real problem I had with that is that was going to create a pedestrian access for the property, unlike Shadowbrook. And with 40 parking stalls squeezed onto a 1 acre parcel along with 20 apartments and a pool, people are going to see our lot as an alternative. If they park there and they walk through the trash enclosure, it's only 30 yards or so to get to their apartment. And if you look at Nelson Boulevard, particularly in the evening, you're going to see that even though Shadowbrook, the Lakes, and Robinwood have parking for all their tenants, you're still going to see quite a few cars parked on the street. And that's going to happen with this project, only they're going to use our parking lot. Now, condition 12 of the CUP does specify that amendments to cross-access and parking agreement needs to be made between the applicant and the owner south of the applicant's site, which would be us. In an email Trevor sent to the owners in July, to one of our owners, he said he gave the new applicants our contact information and suggested they get in touch with us, presumably for that purpose. We haven't talked to anybody about that, our concerns as of tonight. So there is no amended agreement that I'm aware of. Now, our CC&Rs don't allow any owner, tenant, or employee to park vehicles overnight in the parking lot. Everyone knows and understands and follows those rules. And if you allow this, you're going to make us the parking police. And when a simple solution would be, and he's already said they're going to do it, so I'm wasting my time, moving the trash enclosure or closing it, as is described in condition 5, and they're going to come up with a solution, and I appreciate that. Now, if I have a second, some of you know me, I used to be the financial consultant for the city. I understand, the need for housing in this community. I also understand that as a developer, I'm a CPA, which is in one of those offices. And I understand how developers need to make a certain return on their investments. And you need to balance those things. But you don't want to balance those things at the expense of somebody else's private property. Sounds to me like that's not going to happen. But as a person that's right by there, I am concerned with the traffic. That's my spiel.
My name is Sean Rusk, and I'm also a business owner just to the south, along with Steve. And I do represent other business owners in there as the president of the McCall Professional Offices Association. And basically, I'm going to kind of say the same thing what Steve has said. And I have also talked with Mr. Rodriguez, the architect tonight. And so I did learn that some of these things are being addressed already. So I'm glad to hear that. We welcome a neighbor to the north of our parcel, but we do have concerns, as you have heard from Steve. I would like to reiterate our concerns and ask the city planning department and the owner developer of the proposed building project to reconsider the design of the current plans. We feel that our private property, our parking lot, will become a liability for our association if the tenants have any access to our parking lot through an unlocked gate or garbage enclosures that opens to our parking lot. If the parking is inadequate in the office or in the apartment complex, tenants will want to park in our parking lot because it is close and it is private parking for our association only. On garbage days, when the garbage truck is dumping, our traffic flow will be blocked and cars will not be able to go around, which is the correct way of flow in our parking lot as it is today. We have a solid block light wall, as Steve has alluded to, with Shadowbrook Apartments on the east side of our complex. We've never had an issue with them, with the tenants of their owner. And they simply have a fire access gate also on that side. Their garbage enclosures are on their private property, and we're asking that the new apartment complex be designed the same way. We look forward to having a discussion with the architect and being able to resolve the issues.
There was one of the issues already resolved, which is moving the trash enclosures and building a block wall with a gate separating the two properties, correct? Right. Okay. And the issue of tenants parking in your property overnight can be resolved by posting a no parking sign with towing. Basically, if somebody is parked there, they can be towed away, correct? I said the first part will be met where no pedestrian access, the two properties are separate. The applicant has already mentioned that they are going to do that. They're building a solid block wall. They're putting a locked gate, which only police and fire would have access to in case of an emergency, and they're relocating the trash enclosure. So with those two in mind, is that, does that solve majority of your concerns? Correct.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that did resolve the issue, for us, I think, as long as like Shadowbrook, like I said, 45 years, no cross access, no problem. And that I see that as solving a big component of at least our issues. And I think that we planned already to put, private property, no parking, whatever has to be put in terms of the municipal code. We're gonna do
Yes.
that.
Okay. And so lastly would be, as far as traffic concerned, I guess the city will grow and the city would have to mitigate those issues with whether we need to put a signal or I live nearby as well, so.
Being on that corner, you almost get sort of numb to somebody locking them up because they don't realize there's a stop sign there. And you hear that all the time. You just kind of wait for the bang. And so those would be the ones where they're not reported because nobody got hit. But you hear those constantly, and the traffic has increased significantly because in that area. And I just think 40 more cars is going to contribute to that.
Well, I can see traffic in the morning and the evening, people coming and going.
Oh, yeah.
But in the middle of the day, when the kids are getting out of school, there's already traffic. I don't think those apartments are going to add to the midday traffic. I think
Correct.
I don't think it would have as much of an impact. I agree with you. I think though, in the morning, it'll be a significant impact, and I guess signalization would most likely be the answer to that.
Yeah, and I mean, all the applicants that have recently come, so the 5 condos on Nelson and McCall, and this applicant as well have paid their fair share. So now the city will be, evaluating the traffic, I guess, and put in the signal once it's
We got,
necessary.
this would be 75% of the 4 corners. I don't know about,
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen to that last corner.
but I mean, you've got 75% of the money should be there.
Right.
but it's taken us years to get a signal on Dinuba and McCall, and it's still not there yet.
Right,
So that we're looking at a huge time thing.
The signal at Dinuba and required Caltrans approval because of funding, and that was part of the delay there. So
Okay.
if it's just a city funded project, it should go significantly quicker, but because we have federal dollars and Caltrans involved, that is the difference between the McCall Dinuba intersection versus this intersection. Now, depending on where we get funding for this intersection, if it's out of impact fees, we can pay for it completely with city dollars, then we could significantly expedite plan review and approval and construction of a signal.
Right.
But when we use state dollars, federal dollars, and other funding sources, you have to get other agencies involved, and that significantly elongates the approval process of those type of improvements.
Just curious, there is a signal on Barbara and McCall, and then, of course, the one that's proposed at Dinuba and McCall. How much distance, is there a distance requirement between signals, or, I mean, going from one signal to another signal to another signal?
Typically, you would want at least a mile, I think is our
Right,
typical.
but look at Floral and McCall. They're right next to each other.
I don't disagree. Typically, we would prefer proper spacing to prevent those type of queuing and
Right.
traffic issues. In this instance, if it's closer to another signal, maybe there's an alternative in the middle, like a traffic circle or something like that that could resolve this to keep traffic moving so you don't have any timing delays or queuing. We'd have to look and see what type of right of way would be needed for a traffic circle and if it could fit, but that would be part of the analysis that, again, if we use Caltrans funding, they'll make us do a feasibility analysis for a roundabout anyway. So we would have to figure that out and then determine, is it gonna be a roundabout, is it gonna be a signal? But point is well taken from the commission in terms of identifying. I looked at the local road safety plan, this intersection. So it didn't have a high enough like an index score, because all those intersections and segments are scored. It didn't score high enough. So the next place to look would be the CIP to determine if we have funding available and if it meets the criteria for prioritization on the CIP list.
Okay.
So we can look at that as well. I don't have the list in front of me. Maybe it's already on the list. Again, point is well taken that we'll identify and try and determine if warrant at this intersection require a signal to be placed, then what the timing would be for that type of.
And the applicant has met the requirements pretty much of parking when they have 2 parking stalls per unit, so we can't really do anything with that.
If they comply with the current parking standards under the ordinance, that's sufficient for staff. Unfortunately, empty lots adjacent to areas that attract parking are subject to people using their lots for parking. Always advise for people on private property to reduce liability to post accordingly so that they don't have any incidents on their property, they don't have trespassing. Unauthorized users.
Correct. Yeah. Right.
Just city manager, deputy city manager, just since I'm new, just to recap. So tonight, right here is just an extension of the CPU so they can go through the process. And included in that process is, this is not an approval of the project. This is just allowing them time to get their plans in and their drawings in and their permits in.
So the use and the conditions of approval were approved in 2019. So the only recourse or the only limitations are those conditions of approval, any applicable municipal code, as well as the building code, fire code, under which the building plans will be reviewed. So this project as a whole has been approved by the Planning Commission, and this extension would extend that prior approval from 2019 for another year. So really the recourse that the Planning Commission has to revise the project is very limited at this time because it's already been approved.
So, and then is part of this process, as I believe I heard, is that the architect with the new owner is going to work with the existing building, business center next to it to address their concerns?
They're obligated to negotiate with the business association to the south in regards to the plan that was previously approved for access. The condition, which is currently adopted in the conditions of approval, states that they have to obtain a cross-access agreement for how the site was laid out previously. If the architect and the new property owners decide to slightly alter access to the south and access is no longer needed, that condition becomes really a footnote because they've changed the configuration.
So what I'm getting at is, what I don't want to happen is the plans come through and everything looks great, but that the existing businesses were left out of, never notified, and then they're not quite happy with the final result. So how do we ensure that their concerns and their input's going to be heard moving forward?
Well, I would imagine mainly if they're gonna use the adjacent property for access, they have no choice but discussing with the business owners next door. If they're not gonna use it for access, if a block wall is gonna be there, no pedestrian access, locked gate, move the trash enclosure,
I
they
underst-
don't need to consult with the
I
businesses next
understand.
door.
I understand all that, but I think I heard the members in the audience saying that they had no contact with the new owners, if maybe I'm mistaken, and that's what I'm afraid of, is because as long as we have communication, this should go smooth. But if we don't have communication, it's not the city staff, it's not the commission's communication between the existing business owners and the new project. As long as we ensure that they're communicating, it should be fine. It's when there's not communication where something can be missed.
Staff has the ability to provide information. We're willing to facilitate. We're willing to provide a forum for everybody to sit and listen to one another. In terms of forcing the property owner to reach out if they don't have to, because they've altered their site plan, if that's our prerogative, I'd always encourage everybody to be a good neighbor, reach out to adjacent businesses to let them know what's going on, what process or what point of the process you're in. When can they expect, grading to occur, disrupt their normal operations, just to be a good neighbor.
So it's basically up on.
But
them
it's
to-
not mandatory.
Right, but we can't.
We don't have any
force
sort of
that.
good neighbor
It's
policy.
not our job.
We don't have any follow-up of another public hearing after this item unless another extension is
Yep.
requested. Or the only other opportunity would be if it expired and another CUP needs to be applied for, there'd be another public hearing. And at that point, there could be new conditions and other requirements placed on the project. But at this time, the extension is before the extension. There would be no mandated follow-up required of the property owner and the adjacent property owner if the site plan is amended and no agreement.
Correct.
Staff would recommend that the parties get together and have a clear understanding, have clear points of communication for the on-site managers of the facility in case there's a parking issue, in case there's some other conflict that is occurring on their property, so the business owners could be notified as such. We would definitely most encourage that between parties. However, in terms of mandating it, staff has limited ability.
No, thank you very much. And that's what I pretty much assumed. I'm just hoping that the members in the audience heard your words and are good neighbors and keep in mind that when you move into a neighborhood, it's your nice new house, but you got to keep in mind that the people who lived there before, you got to come in with the mindset, we're going to be good neighbors. So I'm hoping the architect and the tenants come together and do something agreeable. And this project would just be smooth sailing and we'll move forward as a community.
I have two questions for you.
Well, we're still in the public hearing. Does anybody else want to come up and address the planning commission?
For the callers on the line, you start 9 to raise your virtual hand and start 6 to mute yourself. Chair Shaw, there's no one online.
At this time, we'll close the public hearing and bring the item back to the commission. And now you have questions.
So, two questions. One is if we are going to add 20 apartments over there. One thing is the speed limit on McCall. What is it 35 or 45?
It's not 45.
It's
No,
35,
it's-
but
Is the
people,
question
I
what
think it's
people
40.
drive on
Yes.
McCall or what
I
the
think
speed
it's
limit is?
40.
So I had,
Actually, by that intersection is 25 because of the elementary school.
that's correct. One of my former colleagues had a saying that speed limits are sometimes the most democratic thing you could participate in because of how it's derived, because it's 75th percentile of what people drive is usually the speed limit. But in this instance, I would agree that by the school, it's 25 per state traffic laws that, around all schools, that it's actually
But
posted, it's
40
posted in front of the business center that it is 25 in front of the business center because of the.
But people are most of the like I pass by McCall and Nelson, and many times I saw like people even didn't observe the stop sign. It happens even in during the school time. That was very like critical thing. I noticed and I wanted to bring it to the meeting. Another thing, I think once we pass. Floral Avenue, there is a sign, it says 40, near to 40. A couple of signs are there. There is a 35 and 40. If we are going to pass this, when in 2019, we things were different. Even neighbors didn't come here. We didn't have any issues. They did, but
The rest was here in 2019.
so now, since we are going to face a lot of traffic and especially parking thing, I don't think are they going to make parking on the streets as well on McCall?
There's no
It's
space
an
on McCall.
intersection. There's
It's
no
an
parking.
intersection,
because,
so many
like-
feet from the intersection, they can't park.
They can't park close to the intersection. I don't believe McCall has the width to accommodate on-street parking, but I don't believe it was proposed as part of the project anyway, and therefore it wouldn't be
So,
allowed.
So, the building before this proposed apartments, we are allowed to have parking over there. People are parking on the street over there. That's a very dangerous. And I saw once
Park on Nelson.
no, but on McCall Avenue,
Talking about in front of the apartments across the street.
no, in front of the
The
office
offices,
building, offices.
the offices, but
Yeah,
not,
they're allowed, the office building is allowed to have people park in front of them. Because there's width, the width over there allows it, yeah.
Yeah, please.
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
past the south driveway, about halfway through, probably where the two complexes joined, it's it's red north of that. And then it stays red around the corner.
Mm.
So there would be no parking about halfway through our 3410 complex.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, all that is a red zone because of the parking in that, on that intersection, on the street because of it.
Anyone else? No.
I would like to make a motion to approve make a motion approving the resolution to grant a 1-year extension of specified planning entitlements that were approved back in 2019 to allow basically the developer to continue with his work.
Roll call.
We have a motion for, first by Chair Curry, seconded by Chair Franco. Chair Juarez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Singh,
Yes.
Chair Salas,
Yes.
motion approved.
That's all of our agenda items. We have oral communication. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission regarding any item over which the commission has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the chairperson for review. Members of the public shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Is there anyone else? I guess not.
Well,
Look,
online.
Devin,
For the
there's no one
callers,
online?
yeah, for the callers online, you star 9 to raise your virtual hand, star 6 to mute yourself. Chair Salas, I don't see no one else online. And then
Okay, then I
We'll make a
adjourn,
motion
make
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Meeting adjourned.
Good night, everyone.